Hello and welcome. My name is Lisa Marie Graves, and I am hosting the Men's Legacy Conference. Thank you for joining us as we discuss leaders prepared for change. Today, I have with me one of the speakers, Mike Branch. Hi, Mike.
Hi there, Lisa. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would you please just start off by telling them more about you and what you do?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've been around this area for all my life. In fact, started work out of TCU at a newspaper in Wichita Falls. I spent about a year and a half up there, so I've enjoyed what it's like to live in a smaller town and also what it's like to live in the big city here. In fact, I worked in Wichita Falls at the time when many of the older folks might remember a big tornado came through, and I actually drew the map on the front page for where all that tornado went.
Oh my gosh, did it impact you?
Well, no electricity for a while, that's for sure. Came to
Okay,
appreciate hot water a whole lot in the future.
right.
Yeah, so about a year and a half after that, my grandfather died, and I moved back to Fort Worth because we had a family business. We had some magazines as well as printing and promotional products. Moved back here and took over editorship of a regional weekly magazine we'd had, published that since about 1920.
Wow.
They had been looking for somebody else to edit that, and so I came back, and within a matter of a week, I was facing a deadline on with knowledge that I did not have about anything in the whole magazine. But somehow you make your way through those times, and that eventually led to our starting 4 national magazines, monthly magazines. We launched a magazine for a national association. And of course, those kind of things, we disrupted the industry. And of course, all of our competitors came back on us. So we had new changes to deal with then. We had an executive change early on that was difficult to make. So we've seen some staff changes that also were changes for us, difficult. We, of course, faced, like many publications, as we went into the 80s and 90s, the internet. We found ways to work our ways into that, and remembering we had both readers and advertisers and audience. But in the end, we were just the wrong size. By 2009, 2010, I'd been there for like 30 years, and we were the wrong size to compete in that marketplace anymore. So we shut that down. That was a difficult time. Same year I had Lyme disease. Same year 2 of my daughters got married, and we moved.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a very exciting year for us here.
That's one word of using, huh? That's very positive.
That's right. I mean, so some changes are great. Some changes you don't want, but
Right.
they're all around us. From there, I did some contract work and then went to work for a national insurance provider in their marketing department, doing copywriting as well as marketing operations and all sorts of things like that. It's pretty cool. I learned lots of great stuff. But they went through a big restructure, big rebranding, a lot of urgency as they tried to get their stockholders happy with what was going on. And one day I marched into a room with 800 other people, and we were laid off.
Wow.
So, that was the things that I was look back for 40 years and think, what did I think my life was going to be like? And it's not at all the same. On the other hand, it's been some fabulous stuff. So, after that, now I work for a national sign company. If you see a Burger King and Olive Garden fill up at a mobile Exxon station, we do a lot of that external signage. We do digital signage inside of stores, just all sorts of great stuff, 6 plants across the U.S.
Wow.
And so that's what I'm doing these days.
Wow. Well, you've been in a similar industry, but definitely a lot of change. And the topic is change you don't want. Isn't that the topic that you're going to be focusing on?
Yeah.
Well, can you expand maybe a little bit of insight as to what the attendees or people that are considering to come might learn from what you have to share?
Well, yeah, I hope so. Because a lot of personal experience is helpful to people.
Yeah.
I can make an outline or whatever, but sometimes just relating the personal stuff. It's stuff like, recognizing that change really isn't an enemy. What it does is change that seems to bring to us some sense of, I don't know, lack of control. We don't like to not be in control.
That is true.
To be in discomfort. And so sometimes it's not the word change. Change just carries all this connotation with it that we go, whoa, I don't know if I want to deal with that or not. I mean, and it can be within a company or with a customer. I mean, in just the last couple of months, we had an executive at the company where I am now resign. And he carried a lot of information about what we do and our pricing and all that kind of information that the strategies. He actually created some of the strategies, and then he turned up at a competitor.
Oh no!
As a company, that's not what you want to feel. When you're and so we had a lot of discussions internally about which way do we move now, and kind of putting out fires with people who saw this as being a terrible, terrible, terrible thing, and saying, well, what can we learn? How do we move on? So sometimes it's internal people in the company who are affected by the change, and we have to help along. Other times it might be a customer. My wife went to a Chick-fil-A out in Tyler just a few weeks ago. She was out in an appointment, and she ordered her usual salad, her usual dressing, and they didn't have it. They didn't have the dressing, and she was like, "Wait a minute, but this is what you get with this salad." And it turned out they'd actually taken it off the menu.
Oh, wow.
They had made a change, and they were doing a market test, they said. And okay, it was okay if she talked to the owner manager, did a survey or whatever online. So she actually did. She cared enough about it that she did that. But you realize that, when a company makes a change, it trickles down to the customers as well. There are people we're having to help through changes, whether we as a company really want that change to happen and we initiate it due to market data or something, or whether it's something that happened to us that we have to pass along. There are a lot of players that we're dealing with besides ourselves, which, if you're like, you're probably not like me, but when I hear threats of change, I think of me, why is it going to affect me? And I'll try to move everybody else along with me. But, there's a lot of people we really need to think, not in terms of how do I manage myself, how do I manage others, but how do I help myself? How do I help others through this? Mm-hmm. Managing is kind of like, I am in control, I am in charge. I'm trying to reach back to my control factor, right? And it turns out that really what I need to do is help people through it. In fact, I need people to help me through it, whatever it is, to think it through, to approach it in the best way. And so there's a lot of humanity to change. Okay, I'm a guy. I get that a lot of guys I know, and myself included, really wants to take and analyze stuff. We want to, I want to be the quarterback, look at the defense, figure out what to do, and run the play. I want X's and O's and little arrows. But, the way it really works with change to do it well is to recognize there's also an emotional factor to change. There is, we have positive changes in which we think gain. We have negative changes, which to us say loss. Mm-hmm. And when we think about that loss, that's grief. That is a hard time for us in some form. I'm not saying it pours on us like if we'd lost a pet or something else, somebody else that we love dearly, but we've lost something. We've lost a vision. We've lost a dream. We've lost a routine. We've lost something. And realizing that the other people around us, whoever is with us in this company, including like investors, we got all sorts of people who are invested in this in some way. And thinking of it partly emotionally is not a bad thing either. I think that, finally, you want to think in terms of, is there an upside to change, even change we don't want? And I think I have some things to share about that as well. I think that from some of the things I mentioned about some of the times that we hit some changes that I didn't want, I think I brought out some things that make me a lot different person today that I never would have been if it hadn't been for those things.
Yes, no doubt. Did that sound really weird on your end? Audio-wise? Okay, I think we're good. This is our second take, and we are, rolling with the punches. So I apologize if there's some audio feedback.
We are real. We are authentic.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Well, change, you definitely encompassed a lot of things, from a company changing to the impact of the leaders of the company down to the employees of the company and their customers. And I'm not sure that everybody really takes that end perspective. It might just be about me. And I think what you're going to be able to provide to our attendees will be very impactful of really a whole, I call it the whole picture perspective of how does a change impact everybody involved in the process. So I'm excited to hear more about it at the men's conference, but you only get to hear about it at the men's conference. So we sure hope that you will join us at the men's conference. So, Mike, how can people find out more about you?
Well, I've got a Facebook page, but you have to look through a lot of Mike branches to find me.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I am at pickleperfectpublishing.com. I'm at mikebranchmarketing.com, and I'm on LinkedIn, Mike Branch Marketing there as well. And of course, you can come to the conference. That's probably the best way. I'd love to just shake your hand and say hi.
Yes. So, how did you come up with the name Pickle Perfect Publishing?
Oh my. Well, the one of the things that came out of my not being at Transamerica, the insurance provider anymore, was I'd written a number of emails with a particular little group, and I had a lot of those. I had like several hundred of those in my and I thought, what if I put together those in a book?
Hmm.
And it's called True Stories to Remind You of Heaven When Life Hurts Like Hell. And Pickle Perfect Publishing came to mind because if you look in the Bible, there's a time when the people of Israel came out of Egypt and they're in the wilderness and they're looking back, and life is not good in the wilderness, of course, but they're looking back and they're remembering life as they thought it would have been. They're remembering the very best moments. They're eliminating all the bad stuff, and they're remembering, among the things they remember are the leeks, the leeks, and the onions and the cucumbers and the things like that. And I thought of, pickles. That's kind of a way of saying those same things. They remember those things they really enjoyed, and they remember they had a lot of them, but they didn't. They really didn't. And so they misremember that. They remember the world as being perfect in their past when it really wasn't, even though they're at this point now when they should be really grateful for what had happened, what the great things that were happening to them at that moment. So not looking to the past, which you're misremembering, but living in the present where you are and the future where you're going to be.
I hadn't heard that term, and you just said it, misremembering, and that is so true in many aspects of life. Misremembering. Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. So do you have some words to maybe encourage people to come to the conference this year?
Oh my. Well, the people who don't need to come are those who don't figure there's going to be any change in their business. And if you think that, then you especially need to be there because there are going to be changes. If you've been in business at all, you actually really know that. But as we look at demographics in particular areas, but even as we look at other things affecting us, it doesn't take much, as I found, for an executive or somebody who's a key employee in your business to move out for one reason or another. It doesn't take much for some big company to move in. And so it's just a matter, because let me tell you, the biggest thing about change and helping other people is if the more you can work off of a basis of trust, the more they trust you and the more you trust them, the easier it is to wade through the swamp of any kind of a change, because you've got to work together. And so if nothing else, and you don't see any change in the future, show up so that you can learn how to build trust with the people you're going to need in the future when that change does finally come.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you bring about a great point of trust and people, meaning the conference is going to be an opportunity for people to meet new people and to build some new relationships and new trusts of people that can help you in circumstances that are unbeknownst to yet be.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that the biggest change that has ever been made in my life happened at a conference.
Oh, wow.
And so I hope to be able to share that story if I have time when I'm there. If not, I'll be able to share it to some people individually. But the biggest change in my life ever came at a conference.
Wow. And I see this really as an opportunity. Yes, we are pouring information into our attendees. We are providing them some tools and helping them grow, whether it be professionally or personally. But this is one of the few times that I think people actually get to stop, think about their businesses, where they are, what's going on, because they're so busy in the day-to-day survival that it's really refreshing to take that pause and provide some clarity in allowing them to move forward. So that's what I've seen be a huge positive element impact of the men's conference.
Gosh, that is so true. I've got a son who works for one of the big super international automotive manufacturers here in the Metroplex, and I've watched things at Transamerica, And it may seem like because a person is not at that level, maybe it's an individual entrepreneur, maybe it's somebody with 5 or 6 crews out working something, and you just seem like, but I'm doing it all myself. I am so busy, and it's totally true. But it's the same thing when you reach a certain level at all these big companies. Again, you're so busy. You're doing the job of 2 or 3 people. So it's great to be able to just set aside time like this, commit, and focus it on along with other people who have the same end goal in mind.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like a perfect opportunity for us to invite them to the Men's Legacy Conference. It is just a half a day. That's all that we are asking you to take out of your schedule to pour into yourself, to learn about being a leader prepared for change. It is Friday, October 18th. It's at Oak Ridge Church of Christ, which is centrally located. Great parking. We've got great food, great speakers. Let me see, is that pointing correctly? Yes, great speakers. And you can find out more about Mike and register at the Men's Legacy Conference website. If you click on our speakers, you'll see Mike Branch. You'll learn more about his topic and what he's going to share. And then, of course, you can follow him on his social links as well. It's a very simple way that you can find out more about Mike. So, Mike, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close?
Oh, wow. Great things happen at conferences. And so I'm looking forward to seeing not only you, but also a lot of people I have not met. Looking forward to creating expanding my own network as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for your time today. Thank you guys for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the room at the Men's Legacy Conference. Have a great day.